No niin, hyvä.
No niin,
niin sitten se on tavallaan helpompaa kuin se tämä logistiikkinen.
Joo, näin on, jos mä menen ihan sekaisin itse, jos muita jotain nappailla.
Jotenkin.
Onko tää hyvä?
Tässä on tämmöinen, saadaanko me se suhun vai laitatko?
Mä pidän tuohon, jos en paljon liiku tässä. Ja englanniksi, eikö niin?
Joo. Ja mä luulisin, että tässä voitaisiin ehkä muutama minuutti antaa.
Odottaa.
Kuinka kirsulla?
Ei, mun pitää puolella.
Okei. Kun katsotaan lukumäärä. Luulen, että meitä on se 10.
Joo.
Mitä on luvattu, meillä oli se puolitoista tuntia aikaa, eli siis 99 minuuttia kysymyksineen per
esitys. Joo, se riittää mulle tosi hyvin.
Katsotaan sieltä. Otetaan minuuttia.
Joo, otetaan. Mä käyn juomassa kahvin loppuun sillä aikaa. No niin. Joo, tule.
Okei, tervetuloa taas tätä ruoan jälkeen. Aloitellaan. Meillä on 10 esitystä tässä. Tässä semmoisia nopeita, pikaisia tietoiskuja näistä eri organisaatioiden projekteista tai tarpeista tai kiinnostuksen kohteista. Ja tämä olisi nyt se hetki, kun te otatte myöskin sen hackpadin sieltä niin kuin esille ja kirjoitatte ja kirjaatte kysymyksiä, mitä näistä välttämättä ehditä esittää tässä niin kuin samassa workshopien aikana. Olisi tarkoitus niihin vastata. And the same in English, of course. So this is the moment to that we all of the participating institutions will present their viewpoints, questions, needs, projects. And we have about something like 9-ish minutes or like maybe 8 already per organization. So in a few, it's a lightning talk. We don't have a specific schedule for it. I mean, it's not a programmed whatever. Never mind. But keep it simple and leave some space for questions. All the rest of the questions are supposed to now go into the hackpad for us to discuss in depth in the workshop. So please find the hackpad and here, Marianne Mykkänen from.
Thank you. I'm here in a kind of in a double position because I also work for Wiley. I'm a cultural producer for television. Mostly for television, actually, for all media. But this is a project that I've been developing privately through a non-profit company, and this to make it simple is challenging because this is a complex system. But basically, this is a cultural database that treats the data in a way that it becomes harmonious and it becomes possible to link cultural data from limited databases to it on a kind of a professional basis. And there's several beneficiaries. Basically, the big audience that uses cultural services that has a hard time looking for them all over the world at the moment. This is a case that hasn't been solved, and it's because every organization has their own way of organizing data and their own databases where they keep it, and the user needs to know where to go to get it. And there's no kind of common way of doing this. This is an attempt to make it common. So that users could find quality data, quality events data from all applications that use it. This is open for developers. This open data, and this also is very useful for the organizations that produce cultural events because they get to, when this is kind of completed, they get to put the information instead of hundreds or tens or many databases, they get to put it into one where other users can get it. So I'm going to go straight to the API. I'm not. I'm going through here. So I'll show you how this is made. First of all, what we are doing here is organizing the vocabulary and the data with schema, with YSO, which is, I don't know what that is in Swedish or in English, but it's a, what? Yeah, this is a kind of common way of doing it. I'll show it closer. And then I don't even know all these details, and the developer is on holiday. So, but anyway, this is a thing that we've been working, developing together with Helsinki City and with YLE, so that there's a synchronized understanding of how the data should be, and there's more about this down here. I'm not even qualified to present this closer, but the other thing that is important, which is more of my expertise, is the categorizing of cultural data, because there are many ways of doing it, and to make the data really useful and linkable, it's important to do it right. And so we are doing this so that this data, this information can be linked to, for instance, libraries, to galleries, to archives, to YLE program contents, so that when it is when an event is opened, then you can see the background and enrich the event by the things let's say that there's a Tampere Philharmonic Orchestra concert conducted by Santa Matias Rovali. Then we can, to that event, add information about the music, the composer, but also about a documentary about Santa Matias, which is produced by Yle and which is on YLE platforms. So basically, this is the simplest way I can present this. I'd like to be able to show you. We are now at the stage of doing the input form, if that's a correct way of putting that. Syöttölamake, what would that be? Yeah, and we are able to open it in a couple of weeks, but we just need some more financing to be able to have the developers working with the clients. But we have the clients already, and we have the form, and now we just need some more money.
I think it would be interesting to get some immediate feedback from a relationship to Wikidata. So maybe from our more experienced Wikidatans. So if you have already something in mind, comment?
Yeah, my first thought when I saw your schemas, I don't think the events themselves are Wikidata notable enough, but the whole context around it, the places where they take place.
Everything has a unique IP address. Yeah. Yeah, well, that comes through schema, in my understanding, and we are working with adding things to schema and also adding things to YSO, and we're working together with them. So this has been taken a few years to get it to this stage, and this company that has been doing this kind of on this non-profit system is 1 year old, and we had some support from Yle and some culture foundations for, and this is an offspring of another project, but it's done really properly and very carefully, and we try to do the whole underlying basis so well that when you put more information there, it stays and it's usable, and anybody can build stuff on the API, so that developers we are going to do one master kind of a search engine, cultural calendar that uses all these features. But then anybody can do anything on, and the information is there. And in a few years, we're going to, when it's kind of complete in a sense that it's saturated, because we are developing it by genre. We're working now with literature first, and working together with the users or the producers, so that of the information, so that we can really get it right. And then we can get a lot of data from that, because it's really useful for first of all, it's useful for the content producers before it's useful to audiences, but it's really useful for them. And because at the moment, for instance, in a maakunta, in a region where cultural, kind of on a regional level, there's cultural management, but the information doesn't mean, so that every village has their own database that provides this information, and there's no way for anybody to find it unless they know where to go. So this solves a lot of problems, for also economic problems for cultural travel, both domestically and
Good to perhaps maybe continue the discussion over the hackpad.
Yes.
It would be very, very kind of you if you write your questions there, something specific to this. And I think one key issue which is here, that how does my, well, let's say like a model of a question, like how does my project relate to what Wikidata, or how can I link my data to Wikidata, and what data can I use from Wikidata, or is my data immediately applicable to, or like importable to Wikidata, or is it somehow a two-way?
Yeah, exactly. And two things I need to say about this is that we are not taking information from other databases, which are constructed differently, because we don't want to corrupt the data that we have. We want it to be the best possible from the beginning, so that we only search, what is the word, get data from databases that uses the same vocabularies. And the other thing that this is going to is to also vice versa, that for instance, if Wiley has a cultural program that is connected to an event, then you will eventually find that from an application. So there's a lot of possibilities with this, and this slow and impossible to present project.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
So next we have, if I remember correctly, Pia comes to talk about the Freebase issue of Yle. Here we can see here, and we should be ready for the show. Everything takes, I mean, internet wants to present as well. So there you go. So I'll make notes of some questions.
Okay.
I'll make Mariana's.
Okay. Like I said in the morning when we started the workshop, I was saying it in Finnish. We have a lot of questions, and also the title of my presentation is a question, still for us a question, if we should change or go from Freebase to Wikidata using Wikidata instead of Freebase. Some background. When we tag our content for the web at YLE, we use at the moment 3 source vocabularies. One is Koko ontology from the National Library of Finland. And the second one is Freebase, owned by Google. And then for automatic indexing, we use an ontology called Leiki, or an ontology from a Finnish company called Leiki. So those are the 3 vocabularies we use. And at the moment, we don't have any concepts in our database, which wouldn't be from those 3 source vocabularies. So it's at the moment, it's not possible to create own concepts outside those vocabularies. When we manually, or when the journalists, they manually tag, for example, the articles for the web, publishing in web, so they use Koko for general concepts like language, dialects, grammar, education, things like that. But because in Koko there aren't so many proper names, we need another vocabulary where we look for proper names like persons, organizations, places, events, and things like that. There are a couple of examples from our web pages where you can see the tags the journalists have been adding to their to their articles. So we have been using Freebase for a couple of years now. Last year in December, Google announced that it will close down Freebase. They first said it would be June this year. This date has been postponed a little bit late, or at the moment we don't know when they really want to close it, but it wasn't in the end of June this year. Since the end of March, Freebase has been read-only, so it's not possible to add new concepts into Freebase, or it's not possible to edit, for example, all kind of mistakes, spelling mistakes or things like that, or missing titles in different languages. So it hasn't been possible until from the beginning of April. And when Google announced that it will close Freebase, they also announced that they will help the Wikidata community to transfer data from Freebase to Wikidata. And there will be a tool, primary sources tool, which can be used for this transfer. And they also announced that they will have a new API, Google's new Google Knowledge Graph API. From the beginning of June, or in July, July, August, September, there was a lot of confusion. What is going to happen? Because they didn't close it in the end of June, and there are some screenshots from different discussions. People were asking, what's happening now? Any updates about what is going to happen? This week on Tuesday, there was an update, the third one after December, but it was about this knowledge graph API, that they want to have it ready before the end of this year, actually. But at least I haven't seen any updates about primary sources tool, if it's ready enough to be used, because they wanted to make some changes, improve the tool. I don't know, there have been discussion about Freebase and transfer data from Freebase to Wikidata in the last days in Wikidata mailing list. So maybe there's also more information about this primary sources tool. So we are thinking about, should we change from using Freebase and use instead of Freebase Wikidata? And I will continue with a long list of questions. I already got some answers. For example, the notability was one of the biggest questions, but Sandra already asked that, so we shouldn't worry. Maybe we shouldn't worry about this. But anyway, if we want to use Wikidata instead of Freebase for tagging, so we are thinking about does it fulfill all our needs? Because we were using Wikidata, we were using Freebase, or are using Freebase for proper names. So are there enough Finnish, for example, Finnish persons, Finnish organization in Wikidata? Or do all the items have titles in Finnish, Swedish, English, maybe later also in Russian. And what kind of information, is there enough information about the item? So when the journalists are tagging their content, so what kind of disambiguation information they have of those items, that they can choose the right ones. Sandra and Jan, you already told about adding concepts. It shouldn't be difficult, but we would like to learn exactly how to do it manually, one by one, or if we have smaller or bigger sets of concepts we would like to add to Wikidata, what should we do, what would be the best tool, how to do it, who can do it, and so on. And the notability, but actually Sandra already gave the answers to that. And then, of course, there are hundreds of journalists who are tagging their content all the time at WILE. So things like, is it stable enough? Is it the service stable enough so they can do it? Because they can't wait for the next day, or they can't even wait for 1 hour to get the right tags for their articles. Because if the service is not working, so they don't come back, they don't have the time to come back to their articles and do it next day, for example. One big question for me, at least, is should we change from Freebase to Wikidata, or is the new Google Knowledge Graph API the answer for that when we think about our needs for tagging content? And so if somebody can tell more about Knowledge Graph API, that would be really nice, today or later. And if we decide to replace Freebase by Wikidata or by this Knowledge Graph API, there are some more questions which arise. We would like to transfer the data, at least which we have been used from Freebase. We would like to transfer that data into Wikidata, but there's also a lot of relevant data in Freebase which we probably need in future. So should we transfer some of this data too, or who does it? This is maybe about this coverage. So does Wikidata cover the same areas as Freebase, at least so well like Freebase did? For us, it's also a question of continuity, because we have been using Freebase for a couple of years, and we don't want to change to a vocabulary where we don't have any connection with that, which what we have done until now. So we couldn't choose another vocabulary with no continuity guaranteed. And then this primary sources tool, is it ready to use now, or should we wait for a while, and things like that? I think that was the last one. Actually, I wouldn't like to have any more questions. I just would like to have answers.
Okay, maybe a brief.
But still.
Immediate reactions. Anyone? I can have one question. When you used Freebase, were your questions satisfyingly answered? Is it so that when you used Freebase, you were quite happy, and the questions that you had there were covered by Freebase, and now you're in doubt about the data, or the questions were there with Freebase and questions are still there with Wikidata? Do you get my question?
I suppose, yes. We were not always happy with Freebase, or we are not always happy with Freebase, with the quality. And we can't find all Finnish people or all Finnish organizations in Freebase either. It's going to be possible. The technical development has started, so we will be able to add new or our own concepts into our database, so it will help a lot. But still, we would like to have a vocabulary where we can find most of our concepts we use for tagging, not that we are creating all the time new ones ourselves.
From the start, we didn't ask these questions. When we started using Freebase some 2 years ago, I think.
Maybe, or even more.
Basically a choice. They have a decent API. Let's try it. And these are questions that pretty much have come along the way. What they say, and of course, it's. I think it's a question of making the best educated guess at the moment. And then these are probably things we have to test while making that educated guess. This will probably be a good tool for us to work with in the coming years.
And Eero asked, what is the difference between DBpedia and Wikidata? That's the question we have been asking ourselves too, because many organizations in Finland too are using DBpedia, or the BBC, for example, is using DBpedia.
Okay. There are many questions we want to continue thinking about, so please make note of them in the hack file, and any other notes, anything that, any material, let's gather that also in regard to the Freebase question. Thank you. I'll write more as soon as I can.
I can.
Okay, you
give that
Thank you
further.
And I think I have not everything is up to date of this with this presentation, so I have Jessica here next. But you're only listening.
I don't really have a
Everybody's not a data set, but I would really want to hear about your project, if that's okay. At some point, you don't have to do it now if you're not prepared, because I said, of course, you were surprised. So think about it, and we could skip to Esko first, and then we'll see what anybody who knows that these specific people are not here, so we can at some point change the names, at least afterwards. So there, I know that there are some.
Yeah, in the
Okay, just a sec. Where was that? Yeah. No. Se varmaan haittaa, jos se on tuollainen. Se ei ole auki varmaan. Hyvä on. No niin. So Esko Ikkala from, is it Linked Data Finland or Semantic? No, I always get confused.
Group is Semantic Computing Research Group.
So how should I announce? So the Semantic Computing Group?
Department of Computer Science, maybe it's the larger context.
With a new project that is very interesting, please.
Okay, the name is National Anthology Service of Historical Places, and we call it HIPLA. It may sound better in Finnish than in English, but either way. And this is started in 2014, and the project is about combining historical places with modern maps. And basically, we are building a map application that provides common access to different historical geographical data sources. And then we are trying to incorporate a crowdsourced sources process for place harvesting, and because historical place data is often incomplete and lots of old place names are missing, so we want to provide users ways to make corrections to the data and also suggest new places and share them with the user community in real time.
You also use the arrow keys.
Yeah. And of course, there are lots of problems when dealing with historical place data. Places have different names, and many names can relate into one place. And of course, place names change in time, and of course, the regions of those places change in time. And of course, we cannot tackle all these problems with this prototype, but at least some of them. And if I show you a few screenshots from the user interface I've been working with, here on the left column is a possibility to select data sources, and all this data is behind Sparkle endpoints. And because we are working also a project that is concerned about publishing data about Second World War in Finland, so we are testing this system with datasets, place data from 1939 to 1944, which is the wartime years. And that's why we have all the municipalities from those years, which are different than now. And then we have some 35,000 place names from the Karelian region, which are no longer part of Finland, but still they have, at that time they had Finnish place names. And when we want to make a reference to a historical place in that World War I, World War II data publication, then we can, of course, do it automatically, or then just type here the beginning of a place name and use these auto-completion features. And then we encounter that there are maybe tens or hundreds of places called Kivelä, and then we try to separate them with the place types and with this map that shows which Kivelä place we are talking about. Yeah. And then we are incorporating also old maps that are aligned on Google Maps. We have maps from Senaatin kartastot, which is around 400 maps, and then old Karelian maps. And then if the old place names, they can only be found on these old maps, then we can put them on Google Maps, and then with this slider over here, change the opacity of the old maps and weave them on top of Google Maps. And then if the place names are missing, then we can click the coordinate and click here and add a new place suggestion, and then the admins of this service can decide if these suggestions are right, and they can be added to the official dataset. And then there are going to be some search functionalities for also for the places and for the historical maps. So here's a short listing about the data we've been working with, and because we are doing linked data, this is all RDF data, and maybe the usual question here is that how does this RDF data how can we connect it to Wikidata? So we have the Finnish municipalities where we have added this polygon information, and this is the biggest data set is the Karelian places that come from the land survey of Finland, and then these geo-rectified map collections. And now we are using this Link Data Finland portal to publish this, and these are all openly available from there. And if you want to try the user interface demo, it can be found in here, and the project website is here. Yes, I don't know if that was 5 minutes or something, but if you have.
So then, any immediate feedback?
Yeah, that's also the finding register in the official Finnish place registry of 800,000.
It's
Yeah.
It's included already.
Yeah, it's there as well.
Yeah, but those are like recent places.
They
Yeah.
are
Current,
Yeah.
yeah.
But many of them have existed, of course,
Yeah.
Yeah.
long time.
So as a challenge for this collaboration or this I don't know, pilot, I think I think I see myself that there should be maybe a task force for historical places. I don't know, looking at my colleagues over there. So there may be some questions of modeling, like how do we model the change of names and areas in Wikidata, and that has not really been decided. So we can architecture. What's the I don't know. That. So, or we can be, no, it's not us that we decide. We can be part of that community. We can invite the community with us to decide or to explore how it should be done. And then you have, really long-standing experience in questions, so it would be a valuable. If you're willing to share your expertise in this environment, it would be valuable for us all.
Yeah, it should be also mentioned that this joint work also with Susanna's former project.
No, it's not formal yet.
Well, it's ending.
But that part of it, the Nordic part, but it's just some project.
Yeah. So the map part, for example, has been funded by the map alignment process that's still going on there has been funded by Susanna's project. So we're working together here.
So the idea will be that this is a test set of maps and data that we will work on, like with place names, with the maps, with okay.
A short one. There's a huge project going on in Swedish National Archives doing almost exactly the same things called the Tora project. Have you heard of that?
Actually, I was in Nordwood, and I'm not sure. I must have been talking to them, but I didn't know exactly.
I don't think they were there.
Oh, they went. Okay.
Yeah, we have got some text data from there. We are probably testing because we have a sort of streamlined data publication platform, Wikidata Finland, and we might also try to publish your data from Sweden there because we have a shared history, and it's very interesting if you can find. We don't have, for example, the old places from the Swedish, from the time when Sweden was part of Finland.
Yeah. But I think I asked about this, and they said that they had some Finnish places, but there are some Finnish place names also.
Yeah, I did mention in a group discussion that this would be a very good pan-Nordic collaboration project, and everybody was very much nodding. But we have to come back to this topic together with them, talking like refreshing memory about this idea. But there's got parallel research or project done in Norway as well as Sweden, and perhaps also Denmark, but they were Danish preprint.
Yeah, the Norwegians at Mood, when I was there as well, they had a very impressive project called Histad, which was very similar to Sapo. They modeled the change of places over time, or regional borders over time, and administrative areas. So
yeah,
there's certainly, I mean, very similar ideas.
Yeah. And it would be really, really great to have such a thing connected to Wikidata from the beginning. So doing research, doing public service, and doing, I don't know, open service what to put it at the same time. So really inviting this Nordic community to continue there. So I guess we must go on. So what shall we do there?
Next.
Like Nordic collaboration on place names. Is it a question? I don't know. On, let's say places, because, well, there are lots of video. Thank you. Right. We'll see what our calendar is saying. Well, let's say who is ready? Who would be ready? Okay, perfect.
Because I don't have any dates, I have a problem.
Okay.
It's the lack of dates.
So this is Jessica from Open Science and Research, and you will tell more,
yes.
more what it is.
Well, it's initiative. It's started by the Ministry of Culture and Education. It's a 3-year initiative, and well, the point is to open up to data and research and science, and also to maybe get a better hold of the research data and the research processes. So you can find more information on Avoin, openscience.fi. But actually, while I'm here, it's only partly, well, very loosely connected to this initiative. But what I really would like to have is a good ontology or list or authorities for Finnish research organizations, the universities and tutkimuslaitokset and funders and everything, because we don't have, I think, a really good list of these kinds of authorities. So I don't know where to find it and how to make it, but I have an Excel. but we could maybe look at that at some point to discuss maybe what kind of data would be good to have in Wikidata about this kind of question. So, well, we'll see. That was my question.
Okay. Thank you. You don't go anywhere yet. So immediate feedback, questions or answers?
Nobody has it.
I may have some.
Yeah, you have quite. You have really good.
But I will
good
come
yeah, yeah. You have really good.
So you will address this question in
A little bit.
okay, perfect. But I will also maybe make a note of actor database, or like do we have anything specific in regard to Wikidata of a notability of actors or organizations taking care of their own data, or some sort of conflicts of interest or anything that we might bring up here? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it's not problematic. It just needs to be done.
Yes, I'm sure it's not on there.
Yeah. Okay. So I think it would be Hanna-Leena. Hanna-Leena represents the Finnish National Gallery, who has the privilege of having being the first Finnish organization, or whose works are the first works in the Summer Vault Paintings project, and it all happened without us. So that's okay. Perhaps, I don't know, is it fortunate or unfortunate we didn't get to make it ourselves first, but now we have something to enrich. We don't have to put everything online for the first time ever. Now there's something that we can expand and extend. Right.
Yeah,
Okay, yours is here, and I can help you.
Yes, it was this. Okay, hello, and thank you very much for the morning session. I didn't know actually practically nothing about the Wikidata before, and now I know much more, and I think that I should have made a different kind of presentation, but it's too late now. So I'm going on with this, and I'm not presenting any project. I'm just giving you a quick introduction to our open data. Okay, yes, yes. And the Finnish National Gallery comprises 3 museums. They are the Atheneum Art Museum, Museum of Contemporary Art Kiasma, and Sinebrychoff Art Museum. And the Finnish National Gallery collections, there's the art collection, then we have objects, and then there are quite big archive collections. And the art collection consists of over 37,000 artworks. And the time range is from the international art of the 14th century to the Finnish and international art of today. So it's quite many centuries and different countries. And of course, there's the 19th and 20th centuries, mostly Finnish art. And a couple of years ago, I don't remember how many years ago, we decided to publish our art collection metadata as an open data, and it's available as an API or data package. And this information that is in these sets, it comes from our collection management system, and it is updated from 2 to 4 times a year. So there will be a new update next week. So it means that also for this open data packages will come new information, because there all the time artworks are acquired to the collection. So there will be new artworks, new artists, and so on. So that is one question what must be asked when this information is already in the Wikidata. What about these updates then? But then there's another set of metadata, and this is the Finnish State Art Deposit, and it is a collection of State Art Commission which acquires artworks for government properties and buildings used by government offices and different kinds of it. And it has already over 13,000 artworks representing different areas of art. All you who live in Helsinki know this artwork, which you can see at the yard of the music hall. So it is one of those public artworks who belong to this collection. Now, why I am talking about this State Art Deposit collection is that nowadays the State Art Commission is part of the Finnish National Gallery, but these 2 collections are they are not together, they are 2 different collections. And there's also this metadata available, and I think that nobody hasn't yet taken that to Wikidata. Then we of course have other kinds of materials that we have opened. There are from our archive collections, and they are actually metadata plus photos. There's, for example, these architecture pictures of Kiasma building, which are the first ones are from the period when it was being built. And then we have some other these archive collections, and that is something that we are definitely going on doing. We are publishing as an open data different kind of materials. That is also something that is maybe which is easier, because you find so much more material without any copyright anymore. but then maybe you have noticed that we haven't yet published any photos of the artworks of the collection as open data, and there will be. We are about to begin to write our strategy for the open data and material, and this is certainly one thing that will be discussed during this project. And those three portraits that you saw, for example, these, so they are not available as open material taken from our photographers. Of course, somebody has maybe taken an own photo and has published it, but not actually those. And then why am I here today? It is, of course, this. I found this phrase on our website of the API, and I thought that that's very well said. I haven't written it, so I can show it. That is what we wanted to do. We want to encourage people to use this material. We have opened it in the hope that somebody does something with it. So it's our interest, and so I was very happy that this metadata is already there used, as Sandra was telling about this sum of all paintings. So it's very good to have it here, and I hope there will be still something more. Okay, that's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Yes. So any questions, reactions, feedback? Write it in the hackpad. Okay. But maybe we'll pick something which is the data and the images. So as you have realized that this is about data and this is about metadata, the Wikidata, it doesn't contain images, but it can point to images that are stored elsewhere or opened and published elsewhere. And very often the Wikimedia way is, of course, to have the images in Wikimedia Commons. This is what many of us have worked very hard on, to get donations, as we call them as well, to have donations of cultural heritage objects in Wikimedia Commons. And what a perfect resource it will be when you have the data and you have the images. You will be able, through the data, to manipulate the way you see the images. So I think this is where the real treasure lies, that you have them both. You need to have the data and the images.
I do agree. When you are talking about artworks, you should have the photo there too.
Yeah. But we are heading that way.
Yes,
this is what we're working on.
I'm sure we are heading towards it.
Okay, so data and content. Right. Let's see. Oops, wrong place. So I'll refresh a little so we get the right names for people who are presenting. So would you want to present next?
Yes.
So I have some of these acronyms just because of space. So LDF was Linked Data Finland. I don't know if it was the right way to put, but we'll come back to that. So this NBA is again a little bit acronym need to be open. So it's National Board of
Antiquities. It's
yes,
not what you think.
NBA. Yeah, you're not tall enough.
It's confusing. I know.
There you go. Let's just pinch.
Okay. Can you?
Yeah. I don't know how it goes.
Okay. Thank you.
And do you have something?
Actually, I don't have anything prepared. We don't have a presentation, but
No,
I can.
doesn't
Yeah,
matter.
if I can use the browser,
Definitely.
so I can. Okay.
Yes. Yeah, and I'll take this somewhere else. So there, or there, or there.
Right. So I can't
you
move.
have the mouse here.
Yeah. Okay.
and
Thank
the
you.
keyboard is here.
Thank you.
Or if you want to have a browser window, I can help you.
Can I?
You? Yeah.
Okay. Yes, okay. So I'm sorry that we are so loudly prepared, so we don't have a presentation, but I just wrote something on my phone. First of all, we are very new to this wiki world, so we don't basically know a lot of things about it. We just met with Susanna this week, and we talked about our data, our GIS data, what we have. But of course, we are very interested points. What we can do is that we can present that what GIS data we have at the National Board of Antiquities. So the GIS data that we have is about the cultural environment. So I'm not talking about any museum data or archive data or that kind of data. It's about the cultural environment. Data sets that we have include archaeological sites that can be point or polygonal data. GIS people know what that means. We have data about protected buildings, like, for instance, churches are a good example of that. Then we have a data set about it's nationally significant cultural areas. Valtakunnallisesti merkittävät kulttuuriympäristöt. In Finnish, it's very, I don't know what the official translation is, but this data set is more, it's like inventory, larger inventoried areas that can be like, sort of think about landscapes, these kind of larger areas. And then we also have data, we maintain data about the World Heritage Sites. So these data sets is what we have. And we have opened up this data, so it is, you can download it from our website in a GIS format. And we have also published WMS service, which is a web mapping service, so you can use it in GIS mapping applications. But that's the open data part. So when we think about Wikidata, and understood that we need to have CC0 license for the data, and this is something that we don't yet have. We have licensed the data, but it's our own license. But there has been discussion about going in the CC0, taking that to our data, but it has not yet happened, but certainly in the future it will. The GIS data doesn't include any long descriptions, so it's more about the sites, the names, maybe some like type attribute information is connected to that, and the geometry, of course, but it doesn't include the long descriptions. These are in a different database apart from the open data, and that data is not yet open. What else? All of our data is of national coverage, so it covers all of Finland. Oh yes, and then we talked about maybe having like a pilot data set that would be suitable for the Wikidata. With Susanna this week, we talked about maybe having this nationally significant cultural areas. It's a very nice data set. It's a very compact data set. Maybe that could work as a pilot data. But then we weren't, maybe the problem in it is that it's aerial data, it's polygons, and the polygonal, like the area, is a very important thing in that data. So it's not, it's a little bit, it includes some points, but it's mostly about polygons. And as I understood, the Wikidata doesn't yet support the polygonal type. So I don't know what the point is to have like this region without its geometry information. I don't know if that would make it as an entity, or what was it, definable entity, or no, what was the correct term? Item. So that's something that we were thinking about. Yes, there's a.
I was just thinking, would it be possible to have the geographical information saved somewhere else? That you just, I mean, let's say each polygon
right.
Be in
represented somewhere else.
Just have the address for that.
Yeah, and maybe the ID. Right.
Think about this too, and think about question. Ask people. We just do. What do you think?
Well, just shortly, it makes sense even without the polygons, because right now we have like all the municipalities.
Yeah.
Polygons, but
right. Yeah, exactly. But it's a different thing. If you have like an inventoried area that is not like, it's not something that people would necessarily know like what it entails. So it can be like a landscape. So what's the borders of the landscape? You don't necessarily it's not very identifiable, you know. So in these data sets, especially, it's like, or like a graveyard, it would be easier. But in this case, it's like inventoried, larger inventoried area. So that's the challenge in it, I guess.
And it's also that you cannot point to a map service because it's not really map data. It's something, it's thematic data. It's something that's supposed to be stored there with a
with the geometry.
Yeah, and with the item.
Right. Yes.
Yeah. So I think a solution or maybe a shorthand for this would be a good thing for today. Yeah. So any more? For this, shall we?
Yeah, that data is also available as linked data. With data sets like Finnish history ontology.
Arcade way.
Arcade way, yeah. Yeah, but at that time we couldn't get a response whether it's open or not, and we have not been able to publish it.
Okay.
Okay.
It's already from a couple of years ago.
Oh, right.
Collaborating with different organizations.
Okay. Okay. Well.
So it's available in different. I don't
right.
know if it has been updated, but I suppose.
Yeah. Well, it's updated maybe once a year, so yeah. But it doesn't change that much. Okay.
Good.
Okay. I was just. Sorry.
Continue,
yeah. Actually, that was almost all I wanted to say. I was just thinking that I could show just briefly what our data looks like, because I don't know if that would be a good example for. So this is a national, National Land Surveys map application that kind of combines different mapping services from different organizations, and our data is here. So this is the inventory data that I talked about. It also has some lines and some points. So it's basically this large, it can be larger areas or smaller areas. And this is the attribute information that comes with the data at this moment.
Do you have names? Sorry.
Yeah, so every element has a name, yes, and an ID number. And then one thing we talked about this week was the sort of the Inspire ID thing. So Inspire is like this directive for GIS data, and maybe this ID would be something that would be good to include as one ID type in the Wikidata.
Would you have any knowledge about whether Inspire ID is already? Actually, we did a search, we didn't find it, but do you have any knowledge of it being planned or anything related to that?
Not sure, but the Swedish lakes also have Inspire IDs, yes. So they were talking about it.
Okay, so
yeah,
we'll include that in our geo interest group.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So.
At the geo group. So anything you would want to ask, or like as a, I don't know, a general advice, or is it something experience of in regard to this, or just pose a rhetoric question, or anything comes to your mind right now? Or?
Well, probably the first thing to do for us is the licensing that we need to solve, and then second would be figure out like which data set would be the best for a pilot, and could it even be like from one geographical area to take like one area and try different kind of data sets, and how would they work? Is that something that would work as a pilot, or then choose one data set and have that one data set? Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Yeah, impartial data set might be, I mean, a whole data set may be more interesting than a
than a part. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Let's move on.
There you go.
Thank you. So From Kuntaliitto we have.
We don't have Elisa, but we vote Elisa.
Together you make Elisa. So I'm sorry I don't have your names here already. So okay, you'll be Elisa.
Yes.
And you'll okay.
And you'll be
Which one of you will hold the mic?
Well, Matthias will.
Yeah, so he's Matthias.
Okay, I'm Matthias. Sure. Right.
Yeah.
Well, you can see this one work.
No, it doesn't. So
Okay.
it will be this one.
Okay.
And, do you want to have a browser window or something, or just?
That might help.
Okay.
Yeah, browser is fine. Okay, so I'm Toni Hagerund. I'm Chief of Web Communications, and does this work? Toimiiko tämä? Okay, it does. Okay, it doesn't see from to here. Yeah. Okay, and Matthias also works within the organization, and Elisa was planned to be here to make the speech, but the idea is we have actually, I think, 3 key points at the moment. One is that municipalities and cities are opening their data, and the second one, and we are, of course, along with it, and the second one is that we are thinking about how do we collect and maybe even share our own data, and the third one is what we are talking about today, which is the Wikidata style and also open source, which we are thinking about. But the main problem might be that we have to have a clear sight on what do we have before we can open it. I'll use the browser. Matthias will tell you more.
Okay, so what am I supposed to tell?
Wing it.
Okay, brilliant. Yeah, well, about the open data, I think that from previous times that we've been discussing this, it's different kinds of data, but I think what we're talking about here in Wikidata, it seems to be more that you want information, basic information, in a format that is suited for example, using in Wikipedia or something like that. And well, the obvious start that we've talked about would be just to have the list of municipalities in some form, and we were just talking at lunch about the difficulties with that. It sounds easy. It's not the same as place names, by the way. I mean, places more or less stay where they are. Sometimes they change name and so forth, but they don't usually change the place, even though that actually happens as well. When you move a place in Sweden, I think they're moving a municipality center at the moment, aren't they? In sorry, yeah, in Kiruna, for example. But what we're actually talking about more is the way that we in society have built up our organizations, that is the municipality as an organization that has certain boundaries. And here we come back to these boundaries, that they can actually be important because they change. This year we have 317 municipalities. When I started in Kuntaliitto, the organization, 15 years ago, we had over 400. So they've been combining, and next year we'll have 314. So a few more less. And who knows, in 5 years, maybe we'll just have, well, if we're looking at the discussion today about how to organize healthcare, we might have just 20, who knows. And I think at the moment, Toni is trying to show that we also, apart from having municipalities' names, we have basic information as municipalities' contact information. And actually, this is one thing that we have a little bit of a trouble with, because they're freely available on the internet at the time, and that sounds a bit cheap. But the point is that we don't really want to give this information too freely to, for example, marketers, because they tend to send a lot of mail to the municipalities that they don't really want. And that's one reason why there is not possible at this moment, even though it wouldn't be that difficult to actually just take them from the site, but it's not possible to, at least from our point of view, download them as one file with all the information. Because if we would do that pretty quickly next week, somebody would be starting to call through all the municipalities or sending them emails. This is the email for the municipality, and they get enough spam as it is, I think. So we don't want to actually add to that. And that's one thing that we're talking about. Is it okay for us to put out information about the municipalities that can actually affect their business or their, not their business, but their operations? But of course, municipalities are actually they're public, so their information is public, and that's also part of we want to strive for, that the information should be even more public and available. So here we have to make some kind of decision at some point how we're going to do this, and obviously it would be nice to be able to provide it for use, so that you can use it for good things, and not just for marketing. Even though obviously for some people marketing is a good thing, but in our point of view, maybe not. The other thing that we would like to provide, apart from these kind of basic things, would be information about the municipalities, and that we have lots of. You want to show that? Well, for example, this one. Actually, this is a good example. We have a list of all the municipalities. Their what do you call them? Crests? I think coat of arms. Yes. And this is one very popular site because, especially in the summer, people use this a lot because apparently these coat of arms, they're quite often included in crosswords, and people solve crosswords in the summer. So they come here to look, and well, in Wikipedia, you can usually find quite a lot of these already, but we do have some information about the makers, the information, the heraldic information about how what they mean and things that don't necessarily can be found in Wikipedia, because this is being collected from all the municipalities over time. But this is very, very much used, and obviously this is something that would be nice to use. One problem here, though, is that we don't really have the right to give anyone this coat of arms to use freely, because we can just use it for our use. That's the deal with the municipalities at the time, isn't it, Tony?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's one thing that we're battling with, obviously, that we can't give everything away because we don't own it ourselves. But it would be nice, at least personally, I think that this kind of, some kind of linked information is very interesting, because it means that you can connect a lot of different points, and that's interesting from many points of views. And why wouldn't we be part of that? This is actually just very basic thing, and it would be nice to be able to do a little bit more with it if we would have the data a bit more structured. But I was actually thinking, if you would show, we have lots of statistics that might be interesting in different ways, not necessarily for use in Wikipedia, but I assume that Wikidata can be used for other things as well. And for example, one idea with open data is to give the possibility for people to make arguments. So information about municipalities and their, for example, their costs, it makes it possible to people to make arguments about why you should do one way or not the other, and so forth. And this kind of information is obviously part of the democratic way of sharing information. And the way at the moment that we're bringing this information is usually visually, different kinds of visualizations. The data is obviously here in the back. And what we have talked about is also for our own sake, it would be nice to have the data in a very structured, nice way, so that it will be easier for us to make our own visualizations, because at the moment we probably pay too much for it, because it's a big mess when you want to start making it. So you have to get somebody else to do it. And if we would have it more structured, we could do some of it ourselves as well. Is there anyone who wants to suggest something that you think this is the thing that they should put out there about the municipalities in Finland, apart from the names, that you think that, yes, that's what they should go for?
This is a good question. So what do you want first from municipalities in the open, like the wiki sphere?
But you don't personally spend a lot of time thinking about municipalities, maybe. It might be, obviously, but we do it all the time.
And we have some information that is basic for us, for example, the names of the cities in Finnish, Swedish, English, and the languages that are used and are the official languages. And they are so basic that we forgot that might be interesting to someone else to make other services. So the problem also is that we have a lot of information that we don't see important, but it's the only place that you can find the information.
Perhaps
True.
we also go make a checklist, like our well, the names and languages, are they kept in a database? Is there database for that?
They're kept in probably many databases.
Yeah,
yes.
I guess so. Yes.
Even with us, we don't have. When we also have them in the different databases, and that's and as I said, that this will be one way for us to actually structure our own data a bit more, because we have the big three problems: how to get the data, how to store the data, and how to visualize the data. And we're working on each of those three pieces in different ways. None of them probably will ever be ready, but it will be nice to get something that at least a little bit similar to having order in our house, but we can't really say that we have that in any of those pieces. When I talk about getting data, I mean, for example, asking our municipalities, okay, so how did you do last year in this area? Please tell us. And we don't really want to call them all up because there are over 300 of them. So it would be nice to have a system for that. And then when we get the information, we want to store it somewhere. And then when we store it, then we can use it to visualize things, for example. And if we would maybe could store it in a way that we could use also in Wikidata, that'd be nice.
Lots of hands.
And now,
maybe Sandra first.
actually, no. And that's a bit boring.
Well,
I suggested that once.
Well, actually, yes.
Oh, well, not
We
okay.
have information about the political system.
Oh, okay, that's true.
How many people are involved in what is valtuusto?
That's
in the
true.
Council and so on.
Okay.
We don't have information about persons, but we do have information about the structure, and we have a lot of that. We can also tell
That's true.
Which municipality leaders are in the Twitter and so on. So we have plenty of information, not all of that, and we have it on several places, and no one knows what we have actually.
Well, okay. I take partially back. It's true that we do have information structurally about these things.
Yeah.
But what I was trying to say that we don't actually have information about who the politicians are, for example. And if we're talking about having info, and we're even struggling with that ourselves pretty much, because I mean, think yourself. You have 300 some plus municipalities. Each of them has well, a political leadership with at least 3 or 4 main characters, and then maybe between 20 or 50 other in the municipal boards. And then you add on to that different other groups. So we're talking about 14,000 all in all people, and they don't stay in place. Even though they're being elected for 4 years, they tend to change, they tend to quit. Someone else comes there and so forth. And personally, I tried to suggest a few years ago that how about we would have, in Norway, they have a really nice system that the municipalities, through their organization, they have a system where politicians can themselves report their information. And the idea is that, well, why would they want to do that? Well, they want to do it because in Norway, you're required to tell if you have any kinds of connections, for example, to companies, because when you have the decision process, you have to be able to say, okay, this person can't decide about this because he has a vested interest. And in order to show that, you can have the system where people can report. And well, in Norway, they've done it this way. And the good thing is that, well, people want to be there because, well, again, in the summer, when the newspapers don't have anything else to write about, their favorite topic is to go and look in this database and see, well, who's missing? Who's not telling what they're doing? So everyone want to put their information there about what they're doing in the municipalities, where they're working and so forth. And well, the answer that I got was that it was not actually part of our mission, which is obviously true, but it doesn't, it's still interesting. So it would be nice if somebody in Finland would actually make this kind of service. And my idea was that this would also serve our members, the municipalities, because they would at the same time get a good register. Obviously, a lot of them have these as for their own use, but this way it would be a common system. And it would be also probably historically interesting to see. You could follow, for example, a politician, what have they done in different places and so forth.
And one key point to us is that can we make something that municipalities doesn't have to do, so we can help them and get the information on the same time. Because the problem is that there are about 10 or 20 departments in the government, in the national level, who ask a lot of questions if we do, and everybody asks a lot of questions. There are people who can't do anything else than answer the questions. So we have to make systems that make things easier, and we can get more information with less time, and that's the key element in here.
Exactly.
Thank you.
Yes. Well.
Oh, sorry.
Just as a quick comment, we had the Swedish part where we had this mapping of politicians and academics.
Yeah, exactly. I saw that, and yes.
But it was quite horrific to get the data. It was a huge job, and to maintain it then pretty much impossible for us because it's not really a job to maintain data sets as such.
Exactly.
So we had to put it down, but we did try to use
it
for some stories.
I actually looked at that, and it was really nicely done and really nice data set. But I thought the same thing. This is very nice, but very difficult to maintain. And what you have to do is to find the way for the politicians themselves and the municipalities in some way to maintain this information. I mean, it would be enough if the politicians would put the information there and someone in the municipality would check that, yeah, he's not claiming to be something he's not, for example, and these kind of things. But, well, maybe in the future we will have this kind of service as well. And I think it's actually, it would be a good thing. I mean, they do have it if you look at the Finnish parliament. They have a database of all the parliamentarians with all their personal information. The same, basically, same idea. So, well, we could maybe
300 times larger.
Yeah, exactly. But I don't think it should be very difficult to make. And
excellent service from the municipalities when the upcoming municipal election.
Exactly.
Is coming. That all the candidates themselves in that context could fill out this form.
I think basically the basic problem here is that there are so many good things here, but there's no one that actually sees enough of their own share that's big enough for them to put the effort into making it. But if everyone would combine their different points of views, probably, and we would find some common maker, I'm sure that this could be, even though at the time, obviously, if you look at where people are or where the money is, it's not really in making new things at the moment.
And actually, this is one key point that we are thinking about. We have a lot of information. How could we use it more widely and well? And the other thing is what information we don't have and we would like to have. And these are two different things which have to be considered different things, because there are plenty of information that is unused and could be used better. And that doesn't usually take money or time. You just have to think through it first.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
So, oh yes, we actually still have 3, so we are going to tune our schedule a little. So we are going to at least go 15-20 minutes over, and we'll take our coffee then, and then we'll go congregate after that. So a little bit longer now. We are going to be a little bit more tired when we start, and we'll see what we can do. Let's not tire ourselves out in the afternoon. Let's keep it fun. That's important. So, Maria.
Actually, Maria and Timo.
Maria and Timo, welcome. So, if I'm quick, I will not be able to make it to the slides. Otherwise, we are waiting. But Timo, your last name was Laine. Yeah, that's right. So it's again up to you if you want to be attached or detached.
Okay.
So, well, Finnish National Library and the Finna service.
Yeah, we don't have everything ready. We are really improvising, so forgive us if we are not speaking so clearly about it. But this is Finna, the National Digital Library user interface. It combines the metadata and content of Finnish museums, libraries, and archives. Right now, we have 70 to 100 organizations participating to Finna. It depends how you count it. That's why I give you a 70 to 100 rate, because sometimes one big museum brings in several smaller museums, and sometimes we count it as one, sometimes as several. So that's why I say it like that. And our metadata is CC0 licensed, but we don't have API yet. It will come in in the beginning of the next year. There is some juridical issues that we have been struggling with the CC0, and I think we are clear now, and the API will come. So then there will be many possibilities to do something with the metadata of Finna. And we are also national aggregator of Europeana, like Henrik Summanen in Sweden, and well, there is organizations you can see that are participating in Finna, and maybe you can show some kind of content types in there to get you an idea what is in there. Do you want to continue, Timo?
Well, I can just show a few searches to demonstrate that we actually have quite a bit of stuff here.
Can I ask one question when you're searching?
Yeah.
Yep.
When I saw you had different libraries there, so you obviously have books and articles and things.
Yeah.
But if you compare to the information, for example, about the museum, I assume that the museum artifact is just in one place, right? But in this case, you will have the same book in many different libraries.
Yeah.
Does this system somehow combine them so that?
Yeah, you can see where it is and where it is available, also.
Okay, so
yeah.
the book won't come up 10 times during.
No, it's kind of duplicated. Okay. I don't know if that's the right word. It is apparently. So about myself, I'm doing the coordination work with the libraries, archives, and museums participating, and Timo is taking care of the technical stuff. But
yeah, here you can basically see it's.
In Australia, a similar organization, Atlas of Living Australia, started in 2010. I have some examples of their websites. So this is PRC in Britain. Sweden, Art Databanken looks like this at the moment. This Australian infrastructure looks like this. And now we have a 3-year project. We are going to build a similar organization that coordinates. So the current situation, we have plenty of organizations handling species data. This is the current situation. What we are going to do is build a kind of national hub that then coordinates all this information instead of these organizations switching data between themselves. So we have a national hub that then all this information goes through this national hub, and then data exchange becomes simpler. And also this data goes to the international use. This green arrow here shows the international needs, because the species data is global in the most widest possible sense. And here are some of the topics. I just put all them together. The idea is to bring new ideas. It means we have plenty of manual processes still there when we are talking about species. We were not only talking about species in nature, but for example, when we are talking about cultural data, you have to remember that culture has originally the meaning of agriculture. It means cultivating something. It means plants and animals and things like that. Whenever you eat something, you are dealing with species data. So the point is that we are coordinating this species information in Finland, and the idea is also to make it open as much as possible. All data cannot be open. For example, if you have your best places where you pick mushrooms or forest berries or things like that, you want to make that data open because everyone else goes to the same location. So there's some data that is not open, but about 99% of the data we are dealing with will be open. So it means that it will be publicly available. So it deals with this species data, species names, species occurrences, species properties, and things like that. So we are going to make the kind of national hub for managing this kind of species information there. And that kind of way we are also providing information for teaching people, and especially young people, to learn about species, plants, animals, and fungi. And here are some of the details. Finnish keywords. The species information is not only about species names. We have those species Finnish keywords like voices. This is nomenclature, and then we have endangered species and documentation, locality information, notes, isotopes, DNA, videos, photographs, etc., etc. So it's quite a complicated thing, and the idea is that we are going to coordinate how all this species information is managed in Finland. And we already have a website open. The website that will be available in the future is called laji.fi. It's a species.fi in English. The idea is that here's a portal. This is for human use, but we have also, starting from this year, we have also machine readable API. So the majority of data is modeled according to this semantic web technique. So it's RDF data, triple store data, and it can be read by machines in the future. Whenever you need data about species names or species properties, species occurrence data, it will be available in the future. And we also provide this data from Finland to the international use. There's a global effort called Global Biodiversity Information Facility that collects all data from different countries in the world and tries to make a kind of global database on the species information, species taxonomy, and also species occurrence data that will be used in the future for doing political decisions on protected areas and endangered species and their preservation, as well as topics concerning agriculture and fishing and things like that. So this is a big topic, and it's dealing with our own welfare in terms of our food and our diseases and things like that. So thanks. This is the main topics I wanted to talk about this. So any questions?
Comment apps. I've been working with this domain for quite a while and opening data. And actually, I guess the only data sets in Finland really that couldn't be opened are observational data from organizations like BirdLife and Prima. And I think there's something wrong with this genre, because these observations should be they are harvested in a crowdsourced source fashion from observation from hobbyists and professionals, but for some reason these organizations don't want to share that data openly, even if it's created in a very open fashion. And I think there's some kind of change has to be happening somewhere at some day.
Yes.
You said that 99% of your data is open, and we have not any problem.
Yes, that comment is somewhat biased in the sense that you are talking about birds.
Yeah,
Birds, in terms of species, birds cover about 1% of all the species in the world. In terms of observations, birds cover about 80% of observations. And in Finland, those bird observations have commercial value. So those organizations collecting the bird observation, then they sell the same data for some organizations. For example, when you build these windmills, you have to take care about the birds, migrating birds that might crash to those windmills. So that bird data has commercial value. And that's one of the biggest problems here in Finland, that the bird data is not open at the moment. We are working on that topic, but we don't know what happens in the future. So it's still not clear whether it will be open or not. But I'm talking about the data that we will have. So the question is, will that bird data be part of our data? At the moment, it is not. But the data that we have will be open. The only portion of data that is not open is data about endangered species, and maybe some observers don't want to publish their localities of best mushroom picking sites or berry sites or things like that. That proportion of all our data is about 1%. But the bird data you're referring to is a special case in the sense that at the moment it's not our data. Yeah, I know the situation is very complicated. Whenever you have commercial value for species occurrence data, then it becomes a problem.
My question would be that once this domain is very internationally organized and organized in general, like to the best extent possible. So what is the role of a national authority in Wikidata, whether things would be then, if you provide data to these international aggregators and they would provide that to Wikidata, then what would be what we could do together?
Well, I would say that if you're talking about, for example, species names, the species are defined globally. We are still using a linear system. It's a Swedish Linnaeus described a system in the 18th century for describing living organisms. We're still using the same name, so every species gets a so-called scientific name when it's described, and this is a global system, so we cannot describe any species in Finland only. Whenever you describe a species, it's a global definition in the sense that the same species is then referred by the same name. And the problem is that at the moment, the whole taxonomy is a science defining which species are there and how they are related. The whole taxonomy is in turbulence because we have these new DNA techniques that help us to tell which species are related to each other. So it means that the nomenclature and taxonomy is changing all the time. It means that we don't have only this national problem, we have this global problem that the idea of which species there are and how these species are related to each other, it's in a global turbulence at the moment, and I think that this situation continues at least for the next 2 decades or even longer. So the problem is that the whole basis of these species names and species taxonomy is in a very dynamic state at the moment. And when you are thinking about Wikidata utilizing this species information, this problem must be solved globally. We cannot, so first we have to define globally which species are there in the world. And then we have to define which of those species occur in Finland. And then we have to define what is the Finnish name of those species that occur in Finland or maybe elsewhere in the world. So this is not a national problem. This is a global problem for defining those species and their properties and where they actually exist in the world.
I think, well, thank you. I think, well, let's, you have a question, sorry.
Yeah, I was just going to continue that, to ask, because I know at least a few efforts dealing with this, trying to deal with this problem with various levels of success. There is Wikipedistit, which is a fairly new project. Then there is the Catalog of Life, and then there's a project called the Encyclopedia of Life. So what's your relationship or any comment?
Well, as far as I know, the Wikispecies has not been very active. There's not very information in there. Whereas Catalog of Life is one of the basic information sources. We are utilizing the data in there, and we are also providing some data for that catalog. Catalog species is a kind of attempt to provide a global list of all living organisms. So that's one of the main sources. The encyclopedia of species is a kind of Wikipedia or some kind of similar to Wikipedia for the species. The problem is that that information in the encyclopedia of life is not always very accurate. For example, if you search for pictures of some organism by name, you might get wrong results. So the problem is that sometimes the information that's available in there is not reliable in the sense that we cannot directly, for example, we have used those EOL pictures on our own website, and some specialists are commenting that you have wrong species in the picture. So it means that, so we have become a little careful about that thing. But this catalog of lies is one of the main sources for collecting this global taxonomic overview. But the problem is that it's changing all the time. So they're every year publishing a new version of this list. So this is very dynamic. The species might remain the same, but the name changes. Or the name same, but the species changes the meaning. So it means that the same name might refer to different entities, or the same entity might have several names. So we have some similar situation as some other domains that have been discussed here today.
Great. Thank you. No, I think we'll continue so that I think we can finish by 3, depending on how it goes. Osmo? Thank you. So I guess we'll have coffee at that time.
Yes.
Yeah, good.
They are open until 4 o'clock, but they didn't have so much full there.
Okay, good. Now it's taken care of. Det voi olla, että se...
Yes. Heitäks mulle vaan selaimen? Heitäks vaan nettiselaimen? So, hi everyone, I'm Osmo Suominen, National Library of Finland, and I'm going to talk about Finto and these, please, so that we can get coffee. So Finto is a service for publishing and providing controlled vocabularies, thesauri, ontologies, authority files, and so on. And I'm going to, and all of this is open data, and we have an API, and most of these are under some kind of Creative Commons license, but the details vary a bit. I'm going to talk about 3 data sets. One is the general Finnish ontology, YSO, YSO. So I'll switch to English. So it's a trilingual ontology, and it has about 27,000, was it 28,000 almost, concepts. And this is more like conceptual things like fields of science, all this. Oh, it was already mentioned by Yle that they use Koko, which is which includes this one, but it's also wider. So this is kind of topical things. It doesn't have people in it. It doesn't have places in it. It generally doesn't have organizations in it, but there are a few exceptions. So you can see here some examples. So this is something that could potentially link to Wikidata, or it could be linked to DBpedia. We already have links to, for example, to the Library of Congress subject headings. So if we look at something like, for example, semantics. So this concept is, there's a lot of information about it. It's placed in the hierarchy, but it also is linked to the Library of Congress subject headings, actually to 2 different concepts, because they do things a little bit differently. But in any way, it's already linked, and we're trying to figure out where next to link. And it would be, Wikidata would be an obvious alternative here, but we have to find out more. Okay, then we have also, because when somebody publishes a book about something, all the libraries need catalogs, and they also have to add the information who was the publisher, who published this book. And and so they create an authority file of all the publishers. And so anyone who has ever published a book in Finland is entered in the library systems, and we have this data set called Finnish corporate names, or suomalaiset yhteisönimet. So this is 40,000 organizations who have basically anyone, as I said, who has published a book. So we can, for example, find here Teknillinen korkeakoulu. Takes a while. So if you browse down, we can see there's a lot of departments and so on. Of course, this is a university that doesn't exist anymore. It was actually merged with some others to create the Aalto University. So we have Aalto-yliopiston teknillinen korkeakoulu, which is then also a part of Aalto University. So we have all of these here, and then we have some departments, and then we also have a society called Rembursi, and then we have the Argentina 94 group, which I have no idea who they are, but apparently they published a book, so it was included. So this answer to Jessica's question about where to take these universities, but it's not a perfect answer, because the point of view is publishing here, and it's not necessarily the same as who is doing the research, for example. So, but this is CC0. It could be imported into Wikidata. I mean, no one is preventing it, but I'm not sure if it makes sense in this form, because this is very tightly. I mean, okay, we published this open data, but it's the way it is made is very focused on the library use case. So, and it's also sort of mixes the historical point of view and the current point of view. So it's when somebody publishes a book, then the organization is entered in here, but it's not necessarily kept up to date after that, unless they publish another book, or if they change names. So it's it's holding a record of the history, but it's not necessarily doesn't reflect the current situation always. Okay, then finally a third one. We also have a number of place names in and those are included in the Finnish General Thesaurus YSA. So there's about 6,300 places in here, and these are places, again, this reflects the library point of view. These are places that are mentioned, or that basically places that somebody has written a book about. So if there is a village somewhere and somebody publishes the history of that village, then that village will be added here. So we can take, or also, of course, municipalities and parts of, we can take Pasila, like was example. Okay, we have Pasila, we have Itä-Pasila, Keski-Pasila. Let's take just Pasila. So this is a place in here, but this is not very rich information. It's basically just the name of the place, and in this case the city where it is. So it's just a list of places for now, and about 3/4 of these are within the current borders of Finland, and the rest, 1/4, is abroad, but a big part of that is actually in Karelia or Petsamo, those areas that were lost in the war. But there's also like major cities and around the world and countries, and maybe a few dozen places in Sweden, for example. Those that somebody published a book about, obviously. But we also recently did we're trying to sort of revive this this place name set, because it's not because it's a very important list in this. I mean, it's not because it's rich information, but because it's connected to the library records. That's why it's important. So we somehow want to preserve the connection, but also modernize this list. And as part of this, we made an exercise recently to connect this with I'll just use this one. With the place name registry of the National Land Survey, which has 800,000 places, was already mentioned today. So we mapped those places that are in current Finland and connected those to the places in the registry. About 86% were found. The remainder wasn't there for various reasons. And then I took the Fennica, which is one of the major database of Finnish literature or literature about Finland, and draw with the help of these links to the land survey. I just drew this map of which places are most discussed in Finnish literature. You can see Helsinki is the biggest one, 6,300 titles, and then there's Turku and Tampere, and then there's Itämeri, the Baltic Sea. So so this way, by linking these place names in USA, we could make them richer, and we could sort of find new uses for the library records. But I think linking to Wikidata would also be very valuable if those places were in there. But somebody has to put them there first. And also this is CC0, so it could come from here, but maybe there is a better source also. Okay, that's all I had to say. Thank you.
Feedback? Questions? Well, there are. Well, we can because you will be staying.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So we can also go now and have coffee, and we'll take the half an hour, and we'll congregate in the lobby, and things that we'll be thinking about are. Yeah. So this is about the program, but well, the idea is to well, first of all, relax, take it easy for the rest of the day. We are not going to make a harsh program that we have to go through. We are not making exercises, but we discuss and find the questions around each topic that we decide up there, because we are not continuing here anymore. And we'll map the questions, and maybe if we have time, we can learn a new skill, but we'll get organized after the coffee in the lobby, and we'll do what we want to do. We don't have a preset program or like something that we have to sort of live through. So I would say thank you for now, and the coffee, the cafeteria is open. It's open. Yeah, but we'll only take half an hour. And was it so that? Yeah. Yeah. Beside the cafeteria. Yeah. So. But there have to be enough people with. Yeah. So you cannot go anywhere from the lobby without the help of a Yle person. So we have four Yle people here. So we must meet in the lobby. Yes. Yeah. In half an hour. And then we will go up in 4 groups or more if we can't. Here, because they are different. Yeah, I was. But do we have a common space there where we can start? Sorry.
What is the final destination?
Fifth.
We have 5 different smaller rooms there. I'm not sure if there's somebody. There is a bigger room, but I'm not sure if there's going to be somebody there, so that's why.
Yeah, because I think it will take an extra 15 minutes maybe if we start forming the groups, but we can do it now as well. But I would say that we won't need the coffee to have our brains going.
Yeah.
So if we can even fit in a smaller space or anything, so we'll find a way to find the groups, because I think now it's going to be so long. Yes. So So I really hope all of you will be there. I'm not going to be mad at you if you're not, but please do come. So meet you in half an hour. Thank you.
Take all your belongings with
Yeah.
you. Yeah.
No.